Hiya folks, welcome back to Baywatching. I was intending to start Season 9 in all of its terrible CGI plane crash glory, but once again, Baywatch has sent me on a little side quest, because I've got some more scripts, and they're episodes I've already covered, so I'm just gonna talk about them here, okay? Glorious news, people! Among these new script acquirements are 2 for Baywatch Nights, including an unproduced episode. But that's for a separate video. So for now, enjoy this non-spin-off trivia. All of these are labeled as shooting scripts, meaning they were supposedly finalized for production, although it's worth noting that most shows will change something past this stage. Usually alterations to a script are indicated by colored pages, with different colors denoting different stages of revision. For example, yellow means it's the 3rd revision of a script. But people, Baywatch is really loosey-goosey with what they consider a production-ready screenplay. Because some of these can vary wildly compared to what we see in the final product. Not every change is mind-blowing, but here's all the details you never thought you needed to know about some random episodes of Baywatch. First up is Beauty and the Beast. This is the episode where Mitch fights an alligator whilst Neely does an inside sports photo shoot, and it's pretty amazing. Supposedly, it was an inspiration for Baywatch Nights Season 2, although I'm dubious of that claim. If anything, they were more inspired by the Stephanie's Wedding script, which features a hockey subplot they moved to another episode. Because as we all know, Hasselhoff wanted their show to be like hockey, where once it starts, it goes. Anywho, the production code on this script is 6006, indicating this was filmed as the 6th episode of Season 6, but it was released as the 12th. It's not uncommon for the episodes to be aired out of order in a show like this, but Season 6 is particularly bad concerning the continuity of what few long-form arcs they had. The most glaring instance of this revolves around Stephanie's boyfriend-turned-fiancé, Tom, who is introduced to her after they're already dating, apparently. However, in a rare instance of saving the continuity, they've changed the dialogue where Caroline mentions Stephanie is traveling with Tom to just say she's out backpacking somewhere. Presumably, since this script was written early into production, they knew Tom hadn't been seen by the audience yet, as his first episode was delayed for some reason, but clearly shot in Season 5 while Eyebrows was still a main character. This episode also marks the first appearance of Inside Sports publisher Jerry Croft. Obviously, Baywatch did not know what a titan he would become as a recurring sponsorship shill on the show, so the script misspells his last name. The final ep also decided not to include all of these amazing ad-lib suggestions when Mitch tells the ladies that Inside Sports is looking for a model. All the lifeguards ad-lib reactions, like, "Wow, you're kidding! Inside Sports? That's my favorite magazine! Is this for real?" As for the Inside Sports photo shoot, it's done in Cabo in the episode, but specified as Hawaii in the script. Apparently, they'd been planning this monumentous photo shoot plot for a long time, because in one of the other scripts I have, Neely refers to the shoot and still mentions it being in Hawaii. Interestingly, as written, Mitch is swarmed by the ladies as they try to get to the sign-up sheet. But despite him being in the final scene, it's been changed to Chris, while Hasselhoff kinda lazily paraphrases his lines, laughs, and then leaves with contempt. Not sure what his problem was with doing that part of the scene, but who knows? He was probably just checked out. As usual, while everyone improvs or changes lines to some extent, no one ever comes close to Hasselhoff's level of not giving a shit. Basically, it was considered a win if he got the general gist of the line out. He had the Baywatch Nights set to get to. Speaking of which, bizarrely, when Caroline and CJ fantasize about being models, the montage is described as being shot in the Baywatch Nights style. The hell is the Baywatch Nights style? Is this because they're modeling and on nights they wear clothes?
On Baywatch Nights, we wear clothes.
I mean, everyone here is wearing clothes.
find this much more exciting.
I can only presume, since this was during the detective version of Baywatch Nights, they meant it would be kinda bluesy or noirish. But like, I don't get any of that from this. Maybe that's what they meant when they said this episode inspired Baywatch Nights' second season. They needed more supermodel sandwich.
Good God. Good God. Good God. Good God. Good God. Good God. Good God.
I guess they decided too that CJ needed to be way more of a bitch in the final episode. Because in the script, she's really thankful for the soup Caroline made specifically for her. But now, she paints her toenails and ungratefully rejects the kind gesture. Her dialogue was also changed from a begrudging respect of Neely's modeling skills to calling her Sneely and saying she sucks. And while they're excising all of her heroic qualities, they changed her escorting a crying child to her mom to just putting on sunscreen sexily. But we're here for the alligator stuff. It was a major point of confusion as to whether or not the animal in the episode was meant to be an alligator or a crocodile. Although, for the record, it's clearly an alligator. But the intention remains up in the air, as both the script and the episode interchangeably call the creature both.
An alligator. That's impossible. They're freshwater reptiles. They can't survive in the ocean.
Except one species can, they called saltwater crocodiles.
But what else could it be? I mean, a sea lion? What would attack a human?
What else could it have been? A sea lion? A baby whale? A crazed dolphin? What would attack a human?
When Mitch, Cody, and Logan are investigating precisely what kind of sea creature would be chomping at swimmers, Cody theorizes that it was an alligator that someone flushed down the toilet. In the script, it's Mitch who says this, and I assume they changed it to make Mitch seem less dumb for not knowing that sewage goes to a treatment plant first. But really, it's dumb either way, because through convoluted circumstances, the toilet guess was right. An alligator was bought as a baby, flushed down the toilet, exited through a ruptured pipe, and is eating swimmers. It could survive in saltwater for short periods of time. It feeds, then returns to the storm drain.
It's a bit of a stretch.
They also cut Mitch's follow-up line, where he speculates that the alligator decides to stay in the storm drain because it was similar to its native habitat, which doesn't make sense. But cutting that line makes Logan's response asking why the alligator would then leave the storm drain not connect to any previous thought.
But why would it leave?
Once you enter a storm drain, you're there for life.
When the alligator first shows up and eats a duck, the wino who witnesses this is noted to be drinking Mad Dog concealed in a paper bag. Usually, Baywatch specifies brands when they want to shoehorn in some product placement. So I'm not sure why the stage directions mention this if it was meant to be hidden here. Angle, underwater, subjective POV. To the ominous strains of John Williams-esque music, we follow the path of something, we don't know what, as it rises from the murky depths and heads straight for Danny's dangling legs. Sure, I guess this sounds like the Jaws theme, if you've never heard it before. By the way, in case you're curious, Danny's girlfriend's name is never said on screen, but it's Grace, apparently. I only mention this because her actress, Krista Frazier, was later featured prominently in an episode of Baywatch Nights, where she's tragically killed by a fart wizard. There's a short cutscene after this of the alligator watching some joggers at night, which, for some reason, is specified as day for night. Logan is written as much more serious about hunting the alligator, apparently haunted by some previous experiences in Australia. But in the episode, he's jokey. Baywatch further lightens the mood with endless improv and silly ADR over the alligator hunt. Mostly because if they didn't, they'd be left with swaths of dead air featuring Mitch, Cody, and Logan wandering aimlessly in a storm drain. It also gave us Cody's wonderful line about poo.
Is this where all the stuff goes when people go to...
Okay, shut up, okay?
That could be its lair! When Mitch catches an alligator bag, it was originally supposed to be Gucci?
Well, we're getting close. Looks like an alligator bag.
And people always throw away expensive designer bags into storm drains.
Some of this scene was either changed to make it easier, for time, or because our main characters looked kind of dumb. Could go either way. There's an extended bit where Mitch rescues Cody from the alligator, they run outside, and then decide to go back in for absolutely no reason, despite Caroline suggesting they call in professionals. They then attempt to lure the alligator into a volleyball net, which is where Logan gets dragged off. In the episode, it's only Logan who's stupid, as he inexplicably goes back into the water where the alligator just attacked them simply so that he can get taken away. Mitch was originally supposed to get bitten by the alligator too, but nah, we can't have him not be invincible. Angle, Mitch. He emerges from the storm drain like Mel Gibson at the end of The Road Warrior. He drags the captured alligator behind him with one arm. The other supports Logan, who limps out at his side. After this, Mitch hands the alligator off to Cody before leaving him to deal with it. But in the script, he just says a quip and leaves, making it unclear if he still has the alligator or just, abandons it there. Either ending is hilarious.
Hey! What's supposed to do with this thing?
Speaking of hilarious, Last Wave, the episode that decided to stitch together plots about cheating, accidental drowning death, and cancer. This is another one featuring Tom, who is listed as Tom Gardner in the guest cast list. This is interesting, since, as noted, his first episode was obviously filmed the previous season, where he stated his last name is Morella. This indicates to me that this script was perhaps written for the previous season as well. The script for this has probably the most dialogue differences from the final episode, although much of it is just rearranged and reworded just slightly, so I'm not really sure why they decided to change it. The biggest divergence is in the characterization for Wes, Kay's surfer ex, who dies tragically right after announcing his retirement. He's portrayed as immature, blowing off Kay because the waves are too good, and generally coming off less sympathetic. Him announcing his retirement and Kay choosing to get back together with him isn't there either. I guess they decided they needed to make the plot a little more cliched so the audience would feel bad about his death. If they really wanted to rub salt in the wound, they should have kept the part where Wes signs "I love you" to Kay, thus calling back to that one episode and one episode only where they established that she knows sign language. But alas, that's too much continuity for Baywatch, so it had to go. During Wes's final competition, the script makes note that the surfing montage will be using Hawaiian stock footage. So even going into it, they knew they'd be repurposing the Forbidden Paradise B-roll.
Good God. 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 Good God.
During the surfer rescue, the script mentions a lifeguard named Patty, and I have no idea who the hell that is. But Mitch calls for a Patty in one of the Baywatch Nights episodes I just got the script for, so I guess that's her? When Mitch rescues Numi after he gets stuck on some rocks, it originally took place above water. And guys, Numi was robbed of some serious Emmy material. On Newman, he is in the sharp of the rocks, barely able to hold on. It is apparent that if Mitch goes for him, he could be smashed into the rocks. It is a deadly situation. Mitch reaches out for Newman as huge wave crashes over them. Mitch, no! The waves are only getting bigger! You'll never make it! Just let me go! Mitch reaches further, grabbing Newman's hand. You go, I go! Just as their hands lock, an enormous wave comes crashing over them. As the white water pulls back, we see nothing but empty rocks. There is no sign of Mitch or Newman. Fade out. End of Act 2. As we all know, they made it out alive. But the script implies Numi is much more injured here, despite both that and the episode having him be totally fine like 2 seconds later. Wes, however, was not fine, as he is dead now. And just before retirement, too! It's written that Logan, CJ, Neely, Mitch, and Newman are at his memorial, but in the episode, CJ is missing, Caroline is present, and I guess Stephanie also went there straight from the hospital after her cancer surgery? I don't even know if Stephanie knew who this guy was. And as far as Caroline is concerned, he's a surfer who her nasty, cheating ex-fiance, who is currently there, looked up to. As for Stephanie, she has a rescue cut out of the opening of the episode because they gotta get to cutting that cancer out of her leg. Mitch says in the script that he can't fill in for her while she spends some pre-surgery time with Tom, but in the episode, he says Numi isn't available because Mitch is a true hero.
Hey, Steph, we have to rearrange the schedule. Numi is not available.
Stephanie lightens the mood with an odd, out-of-place Terminator reference. She sniffs back a tear. Then, in her best Arnold Schwarzenegger voice, she vows, "I'll be back." Stephanie breaks the embrace and exits with Tom, on Mitch as he watches them go, wondering if Stephanie will indeed be back. We fade out. End of Act 1. While they prepare for Stephanie's surgery, they strangely give Caroline's line about always wearing sunblock now to CJ. But I guess they made up for that loss by completely altering an earlier scene with Logan. Originally, Logan is discussing his and Caroline's wedding with Neely for some reason, where he mentions that they're planning on going to Las Vegas to get married at the Mirage Hotel. In the final episode, Logan is discussing his wedding plans with Caroline, his actual fiancée, which makes a little more sense. But some of Neely and Logan's dialogue from that scene is shifted into the scene where they cheat together. Later, they cut out Neely approaching Caroline about it, trying to be her friend and stating, "I sorta feel responsible for what happened."
This is your last chance, Logan. It's now or never.
I can't help but feel partly responsible.
This leads into the ending of the script, where Caroline tells Stephanie that she can't admire her engagement ring because she has to give her ring back to Logan. But I guess they didn't find that dramatic enough, so the episode ends with Kay crying. Kind of a toss-up as to the better ending there because it's all depressing. Anyway, here's a more comedic episode. Remember Liquid Assets, the one where CJ befriends an old man with a cart full of rags? Well, the previous two scripts I talked about were from Season 6, but this is going into Season 7. But it's worth noting that the cover logo has Baywatch Season 6 printed on it, with the 6 crossed out and 7 sharpied in. The production code is 7001, but it's very likely this was scraps from last season. And I do mean scraps, because the cover notes, "Start shooting Thursday. This is incomplete. More pages forthcoming." What a way to start Season 7, by filming before the first script is even complete. I'm sure this happened on Baywatch a lot though, as A-plots and B-plots are so interchangeable that they're often snipped out of an episode and transplanted into another one entirely. So the script is mostly complete as far as the CJ storyline goes, with no inclusion of the plots involving the junior lifeguards, Manny or Hobie. There is, however, a B-plot included that they then cut out of this already incomplete episode, and then moved to the episode The Contest. But that plot was also incomplete, and seemingly never finished, which creates an even bigger mess for the episode it was included in. Caroline begins attending acting class, and while she's practicing, CJ comes and talks to her. But in the final episode, it's an uncredited Alexandra Paul. I assume they called her really last minute to fill in for Pamela Anderson as usual. Clearly, they were setting up some sort of storyline where Caroline has a crush on her much older acting teacher, as Stephanie has some dialogue teasing her about it, and she's super horny for him during class. The instructor, Darren Hyland, sits at a small desk off to one side. Imagine if James Dean had lived and now was in his late 50s teaching method acting. That's Darren Hyland, a tormented, brilliant soul who perhaps drinks too much and feels too much for his own mental and physical health. But he's still sexy as hell. He comes off less like that and more creepy, such as when he touches her stomach and she gets all flustered about it. But after that happens, the contest only adds one more scene with Caroline being horny for this teacher before he disappears, never to be seen again. It's not like they had more room to cut anything after that, But still, there was originally a rescue scene at the beginning of the episode. And we know they at least intended to film it because CJ references it later. They save a homeless man who, buried himself on the beach to sleep? And the sand is caving in on him, I guess?
How's that guy we dug out? Did he make it?
Since they didn't show us this rescue, it's kinda weird that we never get any context as to who they dug out of what, when, and where. This was also important to building up CJ's emotional state during the episode, with her lamenting the plight of the homeless, which leads to her connecting on a deeper level with Max the Ragman. Also removed is a montage where she works through her emotions over losing Max via jog. But we did get a romantic montage of her and Cody, which they moved to the beginning of the episode, and you can tell it was supposed to lead into a much later scene because they're wearing the same outfits. As for Max, the plot seemed so specific that I was wondering if they were ripping off a movie I hadn't seen. And it seems it's vaguely inspired by Sunset Boulevard. Max gestures to the cart of rags like a male version of Norma Desmond in Sunset Boulevard.
Gloria Swanson used to bring me Irish coffee when we did Sunset Boulevard.
After CJ discovers that Max left her $4 million, Stephanie shows up and doesn't add much. Who cares? Never was the lack of caring more evident than this next script for the episode Bachelor of the Month. Except this script isn't called Bachelor of the Month, it's called Stephanie's Wedding, because there is no plot about Mitch being Bachelor of the Month in it. At some point, that story got put in and they changed the title, because Stephanie's wedding was not as important as Mitch having his millionth sexy photo shoot. It seems this script was also incomplete, even though there's nothing on the cover noting that, because some of the stage directions are only vague ideas they haven't come up with yet. In the episode, Mitch misses Stephanie's wedding because he had to poke at a jellyfish for a while. In the script, they simply write, "Note, cut to Mitch action story" as an occasional placeholder. And when I made fun of the fact basically no main characters attended Stephanie's wedding, I assumed it was because there were problems with the schedule or they couldn't wrangle everybody together that day. But apparently, it was written to be that shitty. The idea was that no one showed up because they got married with only 2 hours advance notice, which I suppose makes the lack of main characters more realistic, but I'm not sure why Baywatch cares about realism now. But here's the biggest deviation from the episode. And oh man, folks, it's a doozy. As it happened on screen, Stephanie and Tom got married while Mitch was off poking at a jellyfish, and Stephanie is bummed Mitch missed it, but happy with her new husband. Well, here's how it went down in the script. We come back to Stephanie's wedding as the ceremony reaches its climax. But there's a look of uncertainty in Stephanie's eyes as Tom repeats after the minister, "With this ring I thee wed. Let it ever be to us a symbol of our enduring love." Tom puts the ring on Stephanie's finger. Close on Stephanie. She looks like maybe she's having second thoughts. On the minister as he looks at the guests. "If anyone present objects to this holy union, let them speak now or forever hold their peace." There's a beat of silence as no one objects. The minister is about to continue when suddenly we hear, "I object!" Stephanie looks up to see Mitch Stock flying in above the waves on a paramotor, shouting, "Stephanie, no! Don't do it! I love you!" Then suddenly, if we could somehow do this, the paramotor plunges into the ocean. No! Close on Stephanie as she snaps out of her reverie with a start. She sees Tom and the minister giving her funny looks. The crowd also reacts accordingly, wondering what Stephanie's sudden outburst was all about. "Steph, are you okay?"
Yes, I'm sorry. Where were we?
As Tom lays a wet one on Stephanie, and the guests break out in cheers and applause, we cut to the climax of the Mitch action story. I'm sorry. Okay. So, Mitch is such a perfect and amazing guy. Stephanie can only think about how much she loves him at her own wedding, which apparently is a sham. She doesn't give a shit about Tom because Mitch will always have her heart. I mean, it kind adds a new perspective to her final scene on the show, where she dies trying to tell Mitch she loves him while in her husband's arms. But I suppose I can't say it's inconsistent with that. But, I mean, I'm also not clear on if Stephanie's fantasy was supposed to be her having second thoughts, as it might be some sort of prophetic vision involving Mitch's unwritten action story. Even though that doesn't make any sense either, because despite her setting up a search party for him, he just shows up and is fine. Stephanie becoming so distraught over Mitch's whereabouts happens in both Stephanie's wedding and Bachelor of the Month, where Stephanie leaves her wedding reception early to go form that search party. In the episode, you just have to assume it was resolved off screen, because they just end with a stupid bikini montage as Mitch does some voiceover about being Bachelor of the Month. In the script, it goes like this. Note, this will be shot next season. As Stephanie assembles a search party, Mitch drives up in his lifeguard truck with an amazing story to tell as to why he's so late. I am deeply confused. Why do they make this big deal out of Stephanie cutting out of her own wedding reception, only for Mitch to be totally fine in either case? And why did the stuff with the search party need to be shot the next season? The production code indicates this was the second episode they shot for season 7. But judging by the revision dates, and the fact all of the scripts I got in this batch seem to be from the same time period, my best educated guess is that this script was actually written for season 6, and possibly intended to be the season finale at one point. Mitch going missing would be a cliffhanger, and then they'd open season 7 by forming the search party and having it turn out to not be a big deal. Which would still be a stupid bait and switch, but okay, I guess. But if that's the case, I'm still utterly baffled, because this happens about halfway into the script. Yeah, see, normally a wedding episode is leading up to the wedding as the finale, which is what they sorta did when it became Bachelor of the Month, bikini montage aside. Because, like, weddings are exciting and important and stuff. But as it's written here, they have the wedding, plus Mitch's undetermined action plot, and then, halfway into the episode, it just becomes some unrelated Cody hockey story. If this sounds familiar, it's because this B-plot was moved to the episode Windswept, which was paired up with yet another story featuring Mitch being a sexy bachelor selling his body for money. Structurally, this makes absolutely no sense to me. If this episode was filmed and pieced together as written, it would have gone from Stephanie getting married last second and daydreaming about Mitch objecting to the wedding, putting together a search party for him, having him turn out to be okay, and then going to her lifeguard tower like it's a normal day. Whatever, no honeymoon, and also hockey now? She even says in the script that she's not much fun since she got married? Like, this is the same episode she had her wedding, and she's already over it? It's possible everything after the wedding was meant to be shot in the next season, whenever they did the search party filming, but if that's the case, why is half of this script intended for a different episode? Why compile it this way? Why wouldn't it be a separate script? Just, why anything? As for the hockey subplot, it's not much different than what we eventually saw in Windswept. They win the game, and Stephanie's wedding ends with some dumb line from Cody.
It's not the Olympics, but I'll take it.
Man oh man, are Baywatch scripts confusing. But it is delightful how much information can be mined from them. It's a fascinating look into how the sausage was made, and that sausage was put together by people who barely knew what was going on half the time. But, as perplexing as these episodes can be, regular Baywatch doesn't hold a candle to the shit show that was Baywatch Nights. So, in the next video, I'll be talking about some more of those scripts. See you then!